Well, welcome everybody to On the Record. I'm so delighted. This is actually our first episode recording this podcast. And you're probably wondering what On the Record actually is. So, On the Record is essentially where music and mental health meet. And this is how we have genuine conversations about how music really does affect our everyday lives. I know myself as a huge music lover for the past, I don't know, 30 plus years on this earth and how it really helps me get through things. I love to have conversations with people about how they interact with music on a daily basis and how it helps them get through. So I want you to be my first guest, Miss Renita Clarke. She is an incredible photographer, as well as we actually met at work, working in warehousing ourselves, and working our way through logistics ourselves as well. And I think it was a perfect opportunity, since we're both incredible music lovers, to kick off the podcast with this conversation with each other. So thank you, Renita, and welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I think my first question to you is, where did your relationship with music
For me, it was at a young age. My aunt, actually, which is my namesake.
start? Okay.
My mom's very original. Because her name literally is also Renita.
Yeah.
So huge music fan. So growing up, I'm gonna age myself. We had a Fisher Price
Hey.
record
Yes.
player, and it was like 45 after 45 after 45 in the house. And she's also a huge music fan. So it went from literally like a Prince to like Led Zeppelin to The Who to like Bon Jovi. And then all of a sudden, like Lionel Richie and Anita Baker, like it was all over the place. Then she went through, I think, like a jazz phase because it just felt like Miles Davis was on repeat.
Yes.
So it's a lot of music throughout the house. So I remember that like stuck with me. We are also the closest in age because I'm the only child. And she's the youngest
of
my mom's siblings. So it was kind of funny because my grandma ended up raising me when I was young, so I ended up living with them. And so our relationship was interesting because she was the youngest.
Okay.
So she thought everything was good. And then here comes this younger kid that now is the youngest in the house. So I was like that annoying, like, sister where she's like, I already have siblings. Like, I'm done.
Right.
So, but the music, she always used to say would, like, keep me, like, calm.
Yeah.
So, and not being the terror around the house or whatever. So I feel like I was forced into music in a sense.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got like programmed.
Yes.
Like, this is how it controls you. But no. So that's my first, I'm gonna say, introduction to it.
I love that, because I think we all get introduced in different ways, and quite oftentimes it's through our parents or people around us, right? And we're lucky enough to be, growing up in specific areas where you're just listening to multiple different genres at the same time, right? You're used to listening to the radio. Whatever comes on the radio is what you're listening to when you're in the car, right? Like, we don't get to choose like we do now, and have your own playlists, or back when we used to create CDs or a mixtape on a cassette, right?
Exactly.
Now it's just whatever comes on, and you just enjoy it all.
Right.
So, what for you started your own independent relationship with music?
I think when I started to get older, understanding what I was listening to.
Yeah.
So it was kind of put on me because
Mm-hmm.
it was ever what she listened to. I'm like, oh, I'm listening to it. So
Right.
it's like, oh, whatever. But at that, at a young age, I'm not knowing what a harmony is or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's when I understood it. And then another thing, which I'm glad she turned me on to, is she would play like Broadway,
Mm-hmm.
like albums.
Musicals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was also my introduction into Broadway.
Okay.
And it's funny because I think this might be the first place I'm saying this, is that Broadway is probably my first love of music.
Ah.
Because I could, for some reason, understand, and in my head, even though I may have never saw the show ever,
Yes.
I was kind of making up the show in my head because I could hear it via this album. So I want to say that was like my first, I feel, independent connection, like genuine connection to music.
Oh, I love that.
So,
which Broadway album did you first kind of get addicted to?
I can't think of what was the Broadway show? I can't remember the first, but I do remember that I completely fell in love with Les Mis.
Oh.
And then I fell in love with Phantom of the Opera. So those were like first prints too,
yes.
which was cool. Which are a rarity now. So if I find them, Renita, I'm going to be retiring soon. But just for me, it was like the singing too that also got me interested in the different sounds of the singers.
Yeah.
So to me, I would say that's probably the first time I heard like, oh, a run. But I didn't know what a run was.
Right.
Or like harmonies, like, oh, why are they singing in unison? Like, but I like it.
Right.
So I think those were the biggies, but I can't remember.
Oh, it's gonna come to you later.
It's gonna come to me like in the middle of the interview.
Right.
I
remember when it was. Yeah. Yes, that's freaking fantastic. Like, the really cool thing about, I think, Broadway and musical albums is they're legitimately taking you through a story. And like you said, you're like, I've never seen them.
Yes.
But I was able to kind of put it together in my head. You were able to create.
Oh my God. Audience, don't kill me. It was Cats.
There you go. Come on, Cats. Come on, Cats. That's not a bad one. Not a bad one. That's for sure. Memories. How could you not love memories? Right? Like, we all have that kind of probably glued into our brains. But the ability to put your imagination into like a Broadway musical album is so much fun. Like, that had to be so much fun as you were younger. I know that certain pieces of time and space have us kind of recall certain songs or something that might come up. And I know that one of the albums that you were like, you know what, this is probably the one I want to talk about most, that we have on display now playing, is Miss Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation. And let's talk about the brilliance of Rhythm Nation before we start talking about our connections. This was Janet's sophomore album to Control, even though there were two other albums prior.
There was two.
But after Control, this is kind of when she took over herself and really wanted to create something so incredibly special with the incomparable producers, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, as well as Sly Stone on lyrics, right? And I think it's such a beautiful way to kind of break out of your shell. And we all obviously remember the key earring in every music video that she put together for this album. But what is your biggest connection to this album, and what made you fall in love with this?
So, if anyone knows me, tattooed on me, huge Janet Jackson fan. My aunt actually said I ruined Janet for her. this is at this point close to teenage. We're getting up
Right.
in age now for me, and I was introduced to Janet actually from the Janet Jackson album
Okay. Yeah.
Into Dream Street. So
Yes.
my aunt was a huge fan of the Jacksons.
Yes.
Loved the Jackson Five, loved Michael. So it was an easy transition for her to Janet.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh, like Janet's independent, like doing her thing.
Yeah.
So, and she was, like I said, we were 10 years apart. So for her,
Right.
like, it was almost like she was growing with Janet too. So watching Janet on TV and then her going into music like her brothers. So for me, I think where I really, really became a fan, which is majority, I think, of a lot of people, is Control.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is good music, da da da. Like, this is great, like visuals. Shout out to Paula Abdul.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
I'm like the choreography. And Janet actually is the first one that got me interested in then looking. So I also feel like with the Broadway introduction
Yeah.
is also my appeal and attraction to Janet.
Okay. Yeah.
Because with the Paula days, Paula gave you that that visual of this is Janet's
Yes.
version. You know, this is what it looks like. And so I was like, oh, videos, da da da, love it. And then again, now I'm a little bit older. Here comes Rhythm Nation. Janet's a bit older.
Right.
And like I said, at this point, after Pleasure Principle, my aunt was like, you're ruining it. I don't want to listen to her anymore. Like, you're scratching my 45s or killing my collection. So for Rhythm Nation, what really drew me to the album is one, you take Control, which is pretty much all color, pop, bam, in your face, and then black and white. So that was my first like, oh, okay, so the vibe is okay, black and white, different. Like, but I'm with Janet, so we're gonna go down this road. And then to me, Janet was my first introduction of a long video. And now I feel like everyone does it now, but
right.
Janet was one of the first. I'm gonna put that out there. So that hooked me.
Yes.
Like instantly.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh wait, like what? And then realized, oh wait, this video is connected to this video, and she kind of took you on that journey of the black and white videos. So that's what sucked me in.
Yes.
Like, and then, so visually she had me. Then at my age, at this point, I could understand more of the lyrics.
Yes.
So, because at this point, I'm also going back and listening to music that I listened to growing up and understanding lyrics.
Yeah.
So for me, Rhythm Nation is like that first chunk of Rhythm Nation of just conscious, like, people may not like it, but I'm going to talk about what's going on, how I feel, what's going on in the world.
What I think
someone needs to say it.
Yes.
And this is my way of saying it. I'm like, it was done. It was done for me. And then you want to add Antonio Banderas. Jesus. So on top of, because I was also with my grandma watching General Hospital too. So I'm like, wait a minute, Janet and Antonio.
Yeah.
You know. So it was just every
teenage dream.
It was just Janet had me going all directions. So yeah. So this album, like I said, it just sucked me in, and I was just drawn. But also, this is Rhythm Nation. Actually, is the first album that I listened to all the way through.
Ah, yes. Can we stop and talk about that for a second? Because I don't know if people truly appreciate an album in its entirety anymore.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's probably my favorite thing about getting a brand new either album or younger when it was a cassette and then it went to a CD and all of this is I want to hear the story. I want to hear the entirety. I'm getting the end, the intros, right? Like all of those little nuances to tell a freaking incredible story. And what was that for you with the whole album? Because you're like, this is the first one I listened to front to back.
So for me, I just wanted to see where it would go.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you're getting Rhythm Nation, and then I'm like, okay, but then you give us the pop of color with All Right and the pop of color with Escapade. So I'm like, okay, so where are you going?
Yes.
So that's what actually made me want to listen, go, and then listen to the entire album. Because I'm like, I feel like I might be missing something if I don't. Which is true.
Yes,
because
true.
Rhythm Nation also is the first album that I like every song on the album. Yeah. And I don't have that many albums. But Rhythm Nation was, for me, the first. Where from literally interlude to song, I don't skip Rhythm Nation. So Rhythm Nation, if it's in my house, it'll play from beginning to end.
That is amazing. Do you have a core memory of this album, like imprinted in your brain as you were either going through something or you were celebrating something where you're like, oh, that song just reminds me of that very specific thing?
So what's funny is I've seen Janet a lot. A lot. A lot. A lot. So it's funny. So for Rhythm Nation was my first concert for Janet.
Okay.
So for me, what sticks out is the concert for me.
Yeah.
So you couldn't tell me nothing. All of a sudden, I could dance. You would think I'm Tina Landon at this point, her choreographer, because you can't tell me nothing. Yes. I was a dancer. You would thought I could sing, even though I can't hold a note to save my life.
Yes.
Like, so I lost my voice in that concert. So for me, this album always takes me back to the concert.
Oof,
but for Janet, I feel like that's been her albums with me, is the live version of it.
There's something to be said about a live performance from Miss Janet Jackson, because she was easily one of the first female artists where you saw full production, so many details and nuances chosen to make sure it just felt right, and she gave you a show. Yes. Like a full-on show, dancing, singing, the fashion, every single thing.
And still does.
And like still does.
Still
right?
touring and still giving you the same Janet that I saw back then.
Exactly.
Which is just crazy, but it just tells you and shows you how a true icon she really is.
Absolutely, because she's influenced so many, artists today. Like she's the reason for it, right?
Absolutely.
Because she was one of those blueprints, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's funny now that we talk about those nuances and new generation, and what they're experiencing with music, and how they actually relate to music. Because there's so much. It's not. I don't necessarily want to say oversaturation, but because back in the day there was just select artists, right? You had select music, executives, and picking and choosing which artists. Now you get to kind of just create in your room, right?
Absolutely.
You can pick up a mic or your phone and sing and create your own tracks, and you might not necessarily need any company to come and jump in. You're just doing it on your own, which I think is beautiful for them, as opposed to all those blockades. But like now, when you look back at, this came out in '89, and you're just trying to fight to get something incredible, right? And she's a Jackson, right? Like she's the youngest Jackson, right? So her trying to make her own imprint on this world as separate from her brothers, right? And just trying to make a name for herself is such a beautiful thing. Just like she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's like, what? First woman? Why? Right?
Long overdue, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Long overdue.
Yes.
Okay.
Long overdue. But yeah.
This woman. I can't say enough because I have an obsession with Janet myself as well. And I can't imagine what the music landscape would be without her.
Right.
Like I really don't, because she was so much of the first to do something. I can't imagine it.
Yeah. And it's good that like some of artists, you know, do give tribute.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yes.
I do meet a lot of young people that now go back and listen to, maybe not as far as Rhythm Nation. I run into a lot of like the Janet album.
Yeah.
People now because of their artist paying tribute. Like I just met a huge Taylor Swift fan. Shout out to Freddie. And he got turned on.
Yeah.
To Janet because Taylor gave her props in an interview, and he's like, "Oh, who's this Janet? Who's this Janet Jackson?
Right?
You're like, if you inspire Taylor, like who is this person?" Exactly. And then he listened to her music, and he started back, and he fell in love with Janet. Like, has his now own love for her, not just because Taylor loved her. And I take all fans. Us Janet fans, we will take all fans. So I'm for it. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like a lot of the stuff that Janet did then, people questioned.
Yes.
And
everything was questioned and over criticized.
Way over criticized.
Yes. And that's the unfortunate part, because we were talking about her being the first for so many things. I think she was really one of the first that got so much scandal attached to her.
Yes.
Because she was being a little more risque. She was talking about things other people didn't want to talk about, right? And she was so in the public eye, especially because, one, she's Janet Jackson, but she's also a Jackson. So it was just this level of scrutiny. And she went through all of that. So the newer, younger generations didn't necessarily have to go through that in that way.
Yeah, right? It was tough as a Janet fan.
Yes.
Like, Control was fine. Because people are like, oh, it's Michael's little sister.
Right.
I think Rhythm Nation gave, like, okay, it's Michael's sister. But it was like a perplexed look. Like, okay, like, but she's doing her thing, but it's still like Michael's little sister. I think the Janet album separated her. I think that was the album that, to me, was the complete separation. Because you do still get young, even in the cover, you still get young Janet. So I get the Janet album, because after the Janet album, it was hard being a Janet fan. Because it was like people couldn't, they saw her in this light, and then couldn't compute her as a sex icon then.
As a woman.
Yeah, and then that was a whole thing. But I need people to listen to like the last songs on Janet album, and maybe you could kind of see where Miss Young Janet was going. Like, funny how time flies. Right. Let's listen to some lyrics there on the Control album.
Exactly.
Someday is tonight. Definitely woke my eyes up as a young person. Like, oh, Janet, where are we going?
Right.
Okay. Well, okay. This is the next part of. Okay, I'm with you. So I feel like she gave 2 prequels to like the Janet album with just those 2 songs. But yeah, it was definitely, people were like, oh my God, she's showing her belly button. I'm like, girl, if y'all don't go somewhere.
It's so true, especially compared to now, a belly button was a scandal.
Can you think about that?
Scandal. Like, okay.
Crop top people were having like heart attacks.
Right. Exactly. Now, this is one of my most hated questions, but I think it's such an important question because you can really define what kind of you held on to from this album. What's your favorite song from this album? It's like choosing a favorite child. I'm going to say that because for me, that's what it feels like when I have to choose a favorite song, even a favorite album. That's controversial. We'll talk about that later. Yes.
It's very hard. Very, very hard for this album. That's how much I love. Like, as you go through Janet albums, it gets harder to be like, what is your favorite song?
Yes.
I would say the one that probably impacted me the most, where I wanted to like go in the streets and be like Angela Davis, like protest like Janet's, like had me pumped, probably was State of the World. Because when I first heard State of the World, I was like, what did she say? And I listened to that. I found myself listening to that track over and over just so I could get the words. Even though, thank you, Janet, she put her lyrics with her.
Yes.
So,
Little book.
Yep, like,
Yeah.
but with that small text, but I'm for it.
Yes.
But probably State of the World, and then the video to State of the World. I felt the lyrics in it.
Yes.
And I love that it was black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel would have given a different vibe in color.
Yes.
I think the selection of what videos were black and white and what videos are color were perfect. Like it went with the album. Because literally, Rhythm Nation almost gives you 2 albums.
Yes, it does. It really
and that's
does.
what I like too. So it gives you, we gonna straight up be serious,
Yes.
like come together, fight, like, and then she's like, okay, I think y'all got it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna give you back to fun, Janet, because I have to give my fans everything. But her just taking that moment at, like I said, the top of the album and just being straight, like, hey. But yeah, I would honestly say State of the World.
That's an incredible choice. I think having a level of social justice inside of your songs, one, was also very controversial, right? We've seen a few artists over time before we got to Janet do that just to make sure that people are like, you need to stay current. This is how we're feeling, and we need to do something about it. And I love that she took that opportunity here to be like, there's too much happening for us not to mention it.
Yeah.
Like, we have to talk about what's actually happening and how we can help. I think that's also one of the biggest reasons that she's such an important artist, because she made that cool, right?
Absolutely.
She absolutely made that something cool, right? And it just continued, because we still hear that in lyrics today with people talking about what's going on in the state of the world, pun intended, right? I think it's a beautiful thing. And one other thing that I just kind of want to talk about really quick, as you mentioned it a little bit with this album, was the artistic decisions that she made. Right?
Absolutely.
From going from the black and white, like you said, to the color and a little bit of the joy towards the end. Like, she was so much a part of that decision making. And I think when we really talk about artists, because I define artists differently than I do a singer or a musician, I really tend to define artists as someone who is incredibly well-rounded and such a part of the process, from choosing the instruments, even playing some of the instruments, the vocal ranges that you have, and really walking through lyrics and going into the visuals for your album. What do you actually see inside of the videos, if you choose to do videos inside of albums? I think an artist is all-encompassing in all of that, right? Because it's easy to be one or two of those things, but she was all of those things. And we see that from very few artists today, being able to do all of those things at the same time. But that's how you get such a brilliant album.
Yeah. I mean, Michael and Janet, if you really look at their bodies of work, are just incredible.
Yes.
Like,
it's like a masterclass.
It really is. Yeah. Like, and you can learn, even if you go back and look at some of the things and do a comparison, like, it's just, they were definitely 2 artists before their time. Yes. Like, I also feel like Tina Turner was an artist before her time.
She really was.
Like, we have so many
icons without Tina.
Yeah, that is like before their time. Cher was an artist before her time.
Yes.
Madonna was an artist before her time.
Yes.
And you may like criticize them vocally or whatever, but you still can't take the artistry away from, and the creativity that all of them bought.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to say it's manufactured.
Right. Yes.
More.
Yeah.
But to your point, I do like that someone can grab something and just make their own.
Yes.
Like, I can just come and do it, and I love that people are open to go on Instagram, and then of course you have your haters, you have your cowards that make the comments.
Right.
because you can't see them.
Exactly.
But like you have like some really good people that I'm like,
incredible.
Yes.
Yes.
Like the labels would probably listen and be like, I don't think that's the single. Like I don't think so.
Yes.
Like, and then it could be a hit. Like I just saw a JoJo interview and she hated Leave.
Right.
Her biggest
yes,
hit.
exactly.
And she hated it.
Yes.
Cause she's like, no, like I want to be R&B and you got me singing this pop.
Right.
But if you think about it, yeah, like I get it, you know, it was crossover pop. But I'm like, girl, your vocals in Leave
amazing.
At your age, it's like,
yes.
But so sometimes the labels would get it right.
They hinder the creativity.
They do.
They do.
And back then, to bring it back to Miss Jackson, the labels were so hands-on.
Yes.
So hands-on.
In every piece.
In every piece.
Yes.
From like your video to your concert
yes.
to not just what single should come out next. Like all of it.
Yes.
So so for her to say, you know what, like you may not get it, but I think my fan base will get it.
Right.
And I'm gonna do it anyway.
Exactly.
Speaks for itself.
And she chose the producers that she knew would let her fly.
Absolutely.
Right?
Jimmy and Terry.
Jimmy and Terry.
Oh my God. Like that's a whole nother podcast of artists.
Yes.
And Jimmy
producers.
And Terry.
Right.
Like
we will have
I can't even come up with words
episode talking just about
Jimmy
producers in general.
Just
you
crazy.
don't understand, and I think people get completely lost and don't really get that the creation of an album or song has so many hands on it, right? The artist gets to let it shine, right? Because they're the face of it.
Yeah.
But the producers and the lyricists and the vocalists in the back and the sound engineers that are bringing it together, it's a beautiful array of people creating a piece of art, right? And so not oftentimes do we talk about the people who are behind the scenes helping put this beautiful thing together. And producers and songwriters are at the top of that list. So you'll see that so much in this podcast about us talking about all of the incredible people behind the scenes to help really get these artists, as I call, to shine and be their biggest self, right? Their most fulfilled self inside of this, I think is incredibly important. But yes, we will definitely talk about Jimmy and Terry.
Yeah. I mean, because that's big trust there as an artist.
Yes.
And Janet said a lot in her interviews, like sometimes they didn't get it.
Right.
And sometimes they would bring stuff to her and she would be like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but you would have to have that relationship to know, like, and to bounce ideas and create, like, the magic that they've made throughout the years is just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Like, just ridiculous. Just Janet, Jimmy, and Terry is just ridiculous.
Oh, man. What an incredible piece. But the one thing I really love about this conversation is digging into what the love of music actually is. And I also want to ask you, when you connect to music, because you talk about connecting to, especially in this album, at the concert, in the live version, so many people connect to music differently, I think. Whether it's to the lyrics, to the melody of the song, or the background vocal, it doesn't matter. Something connects people. What is your piece?
It honestly depends on what I'm listening to.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a vocalist, it is the vocals.
Yes.
I could listen to a Christina Aguilera, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, Jasmine Sullivan album from beginning to end, a cappella.
Yes.
Without no
take
sound.
Everything out.
Yep.
Yes.
Probably cry halfway through their album.
Exactly.
I'm just like, oh my God, you're so amazing. like your voice.
Like I feel what you're saying.
Yes.
Exactly, because of the voice.
It is. And it's funny is, for instance, Tiana Taylor and I don't know why, but in one of her Instagrams, she ended up playing Christina Aguilera's "Love Me for Me," which is one of my all-time favorite. And speaking of if album that I listened to, stripped from beginning to end, if I didn't, you would have missed "Love Me for Me," which I think was a miss on that album.
Yes.
Few people played it. I used to hear it back when the album came out, but they were so, and I get it. She had like bigger hits, and I get it. But I think that was one that was a true miss for her. But people that know, and shout out to TT for playing it. But that song, a DJ stripped it. And I'm sorry, I would definitely give credit being an old DJ, but I can't think of who did it back in the day. So there was an a cappella of that song. And when I tell you, Shayna.
Don't get me started. You know I'm probably emotional Aquarius here. Like
if I did not have appreciation for Christina Aguilera, now mind you, I love Christina Aguilera because she's just a voice. Whitney is the voice. Please don't come at me because very clear.
Yes.
Whitney is the voice.
Yes.
Christina is a voice.
Yes. And a damn great voice. Like, breathtaking.
But I realized like for that song, I'm really drawn to her vocal.
Yeah.
Even though the instrumental behind it flows with her.
Right.
When I heard it a cappella, I'm like, no, it is her vocal.
Yeah.
It's funny, but for rock, what draws me is guitar.
Yes.
So when Guns N' Roses came out, I'm like,
Slash.
Yeah,
exactly.
like,
everybody was obsessed with Slash. So was I. Yes.
So it really depends on the genre, like what catches me.
Mm-hmm.
So Janet is a combo.
Yes.
Janet is a combo of, all right, what beat are you giving me? Where are we going? Are we going to slow jam Janet, or are you going to give me 5, 6, 7, 8 Janet? So I have to hear with Janet, okay, what beat are you giving?
Yes.
And then I get into the vocals and lyrics with Janet.
Yes.
So it really depends on the genre.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't agree with you more. I am very much in, it's the vibe of the song, and sometimes I am a lyric junkie, right? I always say I love singer-songwriters because of that same thing. Strip everything away.
Yeah.
Your voice and those words, what's happening, right? Because if you can get me there, you've got me hooked for life, okay? Absolutely. For life. And I'm a huge lyric person. And I talk to so many people because I interact with so many people all the time, and I have so many friends from all different backgrounds. And everybody relates to music so differently. It just depends on, what the genre is or where they were. I have friends who are like, I've never even paid attention to a lyric because I'm a melody person. Absolutely. Like, I'm listening to the melody, the background. I grew up in a house that played a lot of house music. Yeah. So it never dawned on me to listen to words until later on because I'm listening to the beat of what's happening, or a classical. So it's just such an important thing to think about because some people only vibe out.
This
right?
is true,
right?
And I have a friend that's totally like that.
Yeah.
And I won't name them, but for the running joke we have is, she is famous for messing up a lyric because she 100% isn't listening.
Right.
So because she is so caught up.
Yes.
In the melody.
Yes.
And the instrumental.
Yeah.
She has words where I'm like, that's not even the theme of the song.
Yes.
Where did that word? And then, because I'm like, okay, well, I get melody wise the word fits, but that's not the word.
Yes.
And she's like, oh yeah, no, it's not.
Mm-mm.
Like I don't even know. I've lost count of how many Rihanna songs I've
watched her.
Correct her. Can we not?
Yeah, let's just
like, come
stop.
on, like,
just don't do it.
Yeah,
just don't do it.
Just
Um, well, as we wrap up this episode, what's one thing that you would like to tell our listeners or viewers, if you're viewing it on YouTube, that they should really take away from your experience with music?
Um, for me, it's one of the things too. I would say my experience is it really was an escape,
Yeah.
and I used it from childhood, teenage,
Yeah.
through my adult. No matter what I was going through.
Yes.
Um, us Janet fans, shout out to Walter. Um, uh, is and Cheryl. Which is when we're going through something.
Yeah.
And for me, if Janet or Aaliyah randomly plays, all of a sudden my day gets corrected.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, so we're either fanatics.
Yes.
Or, or it's like, okay, is this the universe? Like,
trying to
saying
intervene.
like, yeah, like
yes.
everything's gonna be good.
Yes.
Like, so, because literally it throughout my whole life, I've noticed that. Like if I'm in a store and about to go off on somebody, like escapade will pop up
You're
like
oh,
in Target,
yeah.
and I'm like, okay, so ma'am, okay, you did almost hit me with this card. But you can go ahead,
it's
man.
Right.
Like I'm actually not in a rush.
Right.
You can go ahead.
Yes.
And so it does adjust
yes.
the mood. When I'm angry, I listen to music. You would think that would want to calm me down, but I don't. So I'm like DMX, like what's going on?
Get
so
me up.
You're right.
Gas me up. Yeah.
So it definitely is a big influence still today in my life. My Spotify is crazy right now with so many different playlists. So, but one of the things I would say, especially for newer generations, is to go back and listen to some of the artists you're in love with now.
Yeah.
Listen to their whole projects.
Yes.
I do feel though this generation kind of does do that. They kind of will listen. And the only way you know is when you go to a concert, they're singing songs that you know aren't released.
Right.
So if you're not a fan, which I love, because back in the day, that's how it was. If the artist dropped a song, especially Janet, B-side queen to me.
Yes.
Is like, okay. And then it's also a bond. Like I said, like I wouldn't have my friendship with Walter and Cheryl if we did not meet being fans of Janet at a concert or through another fan. And like these are solid friendships I've had for like years now. So I mean, it's not only like mentally it helped me, but I think too it also helped me break out my shell too, because music's universal, so it's easy to talk to. Like I may not, and because I listen to a lot of music.
Right.
So I've had so many conversations because of our work.
Yes.
You travel a little bit more than me. But in my travels, I've had so many conversations because I'll be in the airport singing and people will look at me and like one guy came up to me and he was like, "Sweetie, do you even know who a Garth Brooks is?" I'm like, "Sir." I said, "What?" I'm like, "Sir, like, I like country, like."
Right.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, my family's like the Reba and Dolly and like Kenny Rogers days and Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah.
So, but I'm like, I grew up with it. So I'm like, my era is like the Clint Blacks, the Garth Brooks, the Shania Twains. And he was like, "Oh, that means you got a good soul because you like good music." And but yeah, so it's
Yes.
So I've actually had some great conversations because which I embarrass my mom to this day. I will break out in full routine. Janet is one of them.
Oh, 1000%.
Will.
To this day, still for me, because I'm a huge Michael fan.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Don't let a song play. I could be in the grocery store. I will break out to full choreography
Yes.
and be fully confident, you will be happily embarrassed around me. But am I? Not even a little bit. I am
No.
fully committed.
I wish I was a dancer. So if anyone checks out Blake McGrath, he is a well-known dancer, choreographer, danced for Janet at one point.
Yes.
He now is doing that. But because he's danced for all the artists,
Yes.
he actually is doing the full-blown choreography, and like I think he's done it in his yard. He's done a ton in Target where people are oblivious, and he is in the aisle. He has done Janet, he's done Britney Spears, like, and I'm like,
so
oh my
good.
God. Like Blake is such a talented artist and dancer. And I'm like, man, but that's me. So
Yes.
I'm like the 1% version of Blake. But if I could dance like him, it's
It
my
is
God.
a wrap. And trust me, I know I can't dance like them. But am I going to do it anyway? Yes, I am.
Absolutely.
Every time.
I think my one favorite moment of that was we went to go and see Janet in Hawaii, and she played in the store. And I swear to God, it was almost like the universe had a whole bunch of fans, and everyone thought we could do the If breakdown because the store played If, and it was a wrap. It was a wrap. That was the best moment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was almost like a flash mob. It was crazy.
Even better.
Yeah.
Like, even better. Like,
Even better.
that is the stuff that I live for, quite literally. You know I'm going to go look him up, right? Because I want to look at all of his videos.
Yeah.
But as we close today, just one thing for everybody to take away. I love that you said, go back and listen to the entirety of their portfolio. Listen to the albums front to back, to whomever you love as an artist or musician. Just take it all in. And for me, I would also say, look at some of their influences, right? Every artist has been impacted by an artist before them, right? So see where they got their samples from, see what inspires them, because it might get you tapped into artists that you never knew before, like that Swiftie, right? Like, it's like, oh, Janet, who's this person, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll start to fall in love with just how music is so collaborative, and it just kind of repeats over time a little bit, and we make it a little bit more new and a little bit more fresh. But that is definitely our takeaways. So I will go ahead and close this out and let you know you definitely gonna hear from us again. And I can't wait to interview somebody else and be able to talk about something incredible that one of our incredible musicians makes. Thank you.